Hello, welcome to a video all about strategies for teaching students with disabilities. This is specifically about literacy strategies. If you want to check out some of my other videos that I've made, I'm a regular old internet teacher nowadays, so you can look down below for some other videos if you want to check those out. But for today, let's hop into literacy strategies. So what is a literacy strategy? I'm pretty sure most of you know already, but literacy strategies are tools and supports that help students with literacy skill development, such as reading and writing and all of the good literature stuff. Who may benefit from these literacy strategies? We have students with developing receptive language skills, students with developing expressive language skills, and students with anxieties surrounding reading and writing. And really just everyone benefits from these literacy strategies because it helps the students go deeper into the text and make connections to the larger material that we're covering. So in science, we need to read nonfiction text, but we also need to work on our literacy skills, obviously, and those include making inferences and making connections, which they already do in their English language arts class. So in this video, we're going to go over 4 things: 1, paraphrasing; 2, summarizing; 3, interactive read-alouds; and 4, interactive reading guides. And I am getting all of this information from the American Museum of Natural History, and that link will be down in the description box below as well. First up, paraphrasing. The goal of paraphrasing is that the student understands the material well enough that they can express the material in their own words. Examples of some paraphrasing questions you can ask students to maybe formatively assess them. Those videos are also down below. I made a whole series on formative assessments. Anyway. So 1, how would you paraphrase this? Pretty straightforward. Would not recommend this if the student has no idea what the word paraphrase means. So you could go on to question number 2. Can you put that in your own words? What is this saying? And how can we restate this to make it simpler or more relatable? Here is a paraphrasing checklist from the Museum of Natural History. You can ask students to review one of their peers' paraphrased texts. Did the partner put the definition or information in their own words? And did they keep the meaning of the information the same? And then have them write feedback to that student. I found this pretty interesting. I've never done this, but it looks like it would be cool to do in class. Summarizing. The goal of summarizing is a little bit different. The student understands the material well enough that they can express the most important or relevant pieces of information in a succinct manner. So a paraphrased piece of text can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, but summarizing is really larger chunks of text. It's really, you can summarize a sentence, but it's easier to summarize a whole paragraph or a whole article. I'm sure you all know this, but I'm just, putting it out into the world anyway. Examples of summarizing questions. How would you summarize this? What was the most important point? What should we remember from this passage? And what are the main ideas of this passage? And in scientific nonfiction reading, we could ask, what are the main points of information in this passage? What definitions were important in this passage? Things like that. The third thing for literacy strategies for nonfiction text is interactive read-alouds. The goal here is that the student improves their information processing skills, vocabulary, and comprehension of a text. Read-alouds also create a shared experience with a text. So when you're reading aloud to students, you want to model, you want to prompt, and you want to ask open-ended prompting questions. So for modeling, you're saying out loud what you're thinking so the kids, so the students, know what they should be thinking about when they're reading a nonfiction text. prompting, such as, when I reread this paragraph, visualize what this looks like in real life. Maybe you want them to visualize something, paraphrase something, question something, etc. And then open-ended prompting is just asking more open-ended questions so you can get a feel of what they know, what they don't know, and get them thinking about what they're reading in a deeper way. So here's a protocol for teaching active literacy strategies. This includes interactive read alouds. We want to move from dependence to independence. So you can check this little guide out to help you, but basically we're moving from direct instruction to independent reading or writing. So maybe we want to model how thinking looks like, then maybe we want to prompt them to think about a certain thing, and then maybe we want to push them towards independence with an open-ended question where you're seeing if they were internalizing all of the stuff that you were modeling and telling them to think about. And then the final thing is interactive reading guides. These are really fun. I use them in class all the time. Well, actually, I don't know if my students think they're fun, but I think they're fun in that they get my students thinking really cool thoughts about science material and science material that's written down, which a lot of my students hate reading. So it's really cool to see them taking written information and turning it into ideas. So the goal of interactive reading guides is that the student reads independently with a guide to engage in deeper comprehension of a text. This can also be students reading independently or in pairs or in little tiny small groups. That's how I like to do it. Some interactive reading strategies, reading guide strategies are that you have a structured reading guideline and some goals for reading the text. So what I mean by this is maybe you have an interactive reading guide that looks something like this. You have a protocol that students follow. This is an example of a protocol where the guide tells them exactly who is reading, when they are reading, what they are thinking about, but they are working through it independently. Here's an evidence thinking tool. Maybe this is the goal of the reading. They're thinking about data. They're thinking about the scientific question that they're investigating. They're really digging into it as an evidence-based study or experiment. They're trying to find the answer to something, trying to make connections. It's really like an archaeological dig in a way, where the students have an end goal in mind and they are using the tool, the reading, to get there. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. I know it was super fast overview of some literacy strategies, but these are really important for students with disabilities, especially because these students often have a tougher time reading than a student without a learning disability or reading disability, speech disability, etc. And again, I will link the American Museum of Natural History link below. They go much more into depth into all 4 of these strategies, and there's some more on there for you to look at as well. So until next time, I will see you somewhere, probably. Happy June, everybody.